We're on the Couch Cade side with your host, Kyle Delaney for CouchFire.co. And in this installment, I'd like to break down the upcoming matchup of Chael Sonnen versus Mark Munoz. Now, this event takes place on the second event, on the second card that UFC on Fox has put together, UFC has put together on January 28th. And this is a good matchup, style clash of two wrestlers. Now, just before I get in, I'm going to break down the fight. I'm going to do a prediction. Before I do it, I'd just like to say, in regards to UFC on Fox, I think this is the card they put together on January 28th is an incredible card. I mean, first off, it's going to show you every single type of style that embodies MMA. You're going to see striking, you're going to see the ground game, you're going to see grappling, you're going to see jiu-jitsu, you're going to see the clinch. You're going to see everything based on the three fights that they put together for the main card that's going to be airing on television. And you had your first card. I'm not going to say that the first UFC on Fox card was a disaster at all. The ratings were high. And if you're talking about getting new fans into MMA, they love knockouts. So I thought that it was a very successful card, even though it didn't last very long. But I think that the UFC's put together a very good card that is going to show these new fans what MMA is all about. And that's what Evans and Davis will do. And Sonnen and Munoz will do, and Bisping and Maia will do. There's a lot of everything that's going to happen. So we're going to see a bunch of different styles. It's going to attract a lot of new fans. Just wanted to say that before I got into anything. So regards to this matchup with Sonnen and Munoz, this is for the top contender in the middleweight division. And this is a very tough fight to predict. I'd just like to say these two are very evenly balanced fighters, evenly matched fighters. So I'm just going to break down the two fighters and do my prediction. I'll do Mark Munoz first. Mark Munoz continues to get better. Ever since he's dropped down from light heavyweight, he's gone 7-1. He's only lost to Yushin Okami, and he's been on a tear. The guy continues to get better. So let's just talk about a couple of things. His stand-up continues to get better. He's trained mostly in boxing, but he does incorporate his knees, his legs, his elbows into his striking. But his boxing's gotten a lot better. What he has over Chael Sonnen is power. He's got a lot of power in his hands, and he uses that to his advantage in the middleweight division. So he has a lot of good power on his feet. And in regards to his wrestling, he's a very good wrestler. He beat Chael Sonnen back in college, back when they wrestled each other in collegiate wrestling. This is not MMA wrestling. But he beat Chael Sonnen. He's a very good wrestler. He's able to control opponents on the ground. He rolls with them when they're in defense. When he's on top of them, he rolls very well. And his ground and pound is only just as devastating as his stand-up striking is. He has very, very powerful ground and pound. We've seen this in the Chris Lieben fight. He cut Chris Lieben open with some deadly, deadly ground and pound. So very skilled on the ground. He can control you. He can absolutely beat you down. And what he's also very good, he has a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So Mark Munoz, I mean, considering how long he's been in the game, he's been very, very impressive, and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is very impressive for how long amount of time he's been in mixed martial arts. So a purple belt's a very, very good accomplishment. He definitely has the grappling advantage, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu advantage in this fight, especially against Chael Sonnen. So those are a lot of the strong points of his game. He has very good cardio, but I don't think he has better cardio than Chael Sonnen. But Mark Munoz, a couple of weaknesses with him. He's never, even though it's a 3-round fight, Mark Munoz is, I want to say he's never fought a guy as skilled a wrestler as Chael Sonnen in mixed martial arts. He has fought Yushin Okami. He's lost to Yushin Okami. But what I'd like to also say is that I don't think he has a better chin than Chael Sonnen. Mark Munoz, when he was in light heavyweight, he was knocked out by Hamill. I mean, it was a devastating leg kick. Obviously got finished on the ground. But he does not have the chin that Chael Sonnen has. But Munoz can still take hits. We've seen this before in that war he had with Maia in the Yushin Okami fight. He's taken beatings, but I do not see him having a better chin than Chael Sonnen in this fight. So that's what I have for Mark Munoz. In regards to Chael Sonnen has very underrated boxing game. I'm not saying that he has better boxing than Mark Munoz, but everybody thinks Chael Sonnen wrestler. And he is. He's one of the best wrestlers in MMA. But Chael Sonnen has very underrated boxing. He does not have the power that Mark Munoz has, but he has very good boxing. He has very quick hands. I'd say he has quicker hands than Mark Munoz. He just doesn't have his power. But Chael Sonnen's boxing is good because it helps set up his excellent takedown ability. That's something these two both may be wrestlers, but Chael Sonnen has the takedown advantage. Most definitely. I think he has the better takedown ability. And Chael Sonnen, his stand-up's good. He incorporates some leg kicks in there, but he's strictly boxing. He uses it to set up his takedown ability. So Chael Sonnen's wrestling, though. Okay, Munoz may have beat him back in college, but there's a difference between collegiate wrestling and MMA wrestling. And with Chael Sonnen's experience in MMA, being in the game longer than Mark Munoz, I would give Chael Sonnen the advantage in this one in the wrestling department, simply because Chael Sonnen has the experience and he is the better MMA wrestler. It's different. There's a big difference between collegiate and MMA wrestling. So Chael Sonnen has the MMA wrestling advantage in this one. And Chael Sonnen, just like Munoz, his ability to control opponents on the ground is some of the best. Going back and watch his Anderson Silva fight, he rolls very well, and he does implement some of the best ground and pound in the game. I don't want to say that his ground and pound is better than Mark Munoz. Mark Munoz has more powerful strikes on the ground, but Chael Sonnen, his ability to posture up and lay down heavy strikes on the ground with his ground and pound is some of the best in the game. So Chael Sonnen's got good ground and pound. He's the better wrestler than Mark Munoz, in my opinion. And he doesn't train, and he's been training lately in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He does not have a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu like Mark Munoz does. Mark Munoz has the BJJ advantage in this one. Chael Sonnen, though, comes out in the Brian Stan fight and submits Brian Stan. Chael Sonnen is training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And also another thing to add to this is that Matt Lindland, Big Team Quest head honcho there, just recently was awarded a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So to say that Chael Sonnen will not be prepared for the submission attempts in this, seeing it's been his Achilles heel in the past, he will be prepared against Mark Munoz. Even though Mark Munoz is a skilled BJJ guy, he's not a black belt, it's an advantage for Munoz, but I do not see Chael Sonnen getting submitted in this fight. And that's a bold statement, seeing Chael Sonnen, the majority of his fights have been lost by submission. So even though Chael Sonnen is not high up there in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with his belts, he's a great wrestler. Matt Lindland will make sure he's prepared for this fight. So that's what I have. And Chael Sonnen's cardio, I mean, he fights at a high-octane pace, and so does Mark Munoz. But Chael Sonnen's fought 5 rounds before. Mark Munoz has not. Mark Munoz has not been in a 5-round fight before, and we've seen, even in the 5th round of the Anderson Silva fight, Chael Sonnen was fresh. I give Chael Sonnen the cardio advantage in this fight. Even though it's a 3-round fight, I see him having the cardio advantage in this. If it's a high-octane fight, Mark Munoz has not. I mean, the thing is that these two guys both fight at a high-octane pace. When you add their pace on top of each other, it's going to be a very fast-paced fight. There's going to be a little bit of everything. And like I said also, Mark Munoz has great ground and pound. He can wear you down. I think if Chael Sonnen could take him into the depths, into deep water, and try and break as well, I think Chael Sonnen, his strategy in this fight, Munoz has never dealt really with this before. I know he's lost to Okami before and all that, but I think if Sonnen's strategy in this will be a little bit better than Mark Munoz's. And now, also want to say in regards to this is that Chael Sonnen does have a better chin. He does not get knocked out very easily. It looks like he's been put through the meat grinder every single fight he's been in. He takes the shots and he continues to move forward. He's got an incredible chin. He takes beatings. So that's what I have for the 2 breakdowns of the fights. And before I get into any sort of prediction, I just like to say, I'm not one to go back and say he fought him, he lost to him. But in regards to everything is that Mark Munoz lost to Yushin Okami. Chael Sonnen absolutely dominated Yushin Okami. Completely dominated an elite judo fighter with good hands, but Chael Sonnen completely dominated him in the wrestling department. But also at the same time, you could say that Munoz beat Damian Maia, and Damian Maia made very quick work of Chael Sonnen. So that's why I'm not going to go back and say who won, who beat who, but this is just show you that these two, it's pretty even fight. These two styles is very even, and it's not a lot to take from that, but just to go back and show you that these 2 resumes add up, that these 2 guys have lost and won to guys that they've competed against. So that's what I have for those 2. Getting into the prediction in this fight, I think that Mark Munoz is going to be more successful on his feet given his better stand-up power. He could be successful on the ground, seeing that he has a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a better submission guy, but I don't see that happening in this fight. I think he could be successful on the ground, but I see him being more successful standing up using his power. And if Chael Sonnen's successful, even though given Munoz's submission ability, I think Chael Sonnen's going to be effective in this fight if he gets the fight to the ground and he wears down Munoz, gives him a taste of his own medicine. So that will be interesting to see if Chael Sonnen, one, he will get it to the ground, but if he can control Munoz on the ground and avoid the submission attempts. So, and I think if Chael Sonnen brings him into deep water, even though it's a 3-round fight, if he brings him to the depths and tries to break Munoz as well, that will be a big question. So in regards to the prediction of this fight, I see it coming. I see it being a 3-round war. I see a little bit of stand-up, a lot of ground, submission attempts, heavy hits, rocked fighters. This is going to go the distance, though. And when it comes down to it, in any war, I will always take Chael Sonnen in any war where there's a total battle going on and someone's going to come out, not squeaky clean, but if the tougher fighter will prevail in this one. I think Chael Sonnen is the tougher fighter. He's been in this before. He has more experience than Mark Munoz, and the experienced fighter comes out on top. The better wrestler will come out on top. So I'm taking Chael Sonnen by decision against Mark Munoz on January 28th at the 2nd UFC on Fox card. So that's what I have for this edition of the Cage Side Couch. This is Kyle Delaney signing off. I'm out of here.